All right, today I'm with Stacy Danley, the athletic director at South Carolina State University in Orangeburg, South Carolina. And we've been working with Stacy over the last couple of years with his feasibility study and his major gift initiative. And I wanted Stacy to share some information with you. Before I do, though, I want to sort of give you a background on Stacy. Stacy had about 30 years of athletic administration. He's been at Alabama State as the athletic director. He's been at Tuskegee University as the athletic director. He's worked in the SEC conference office. He's actually worked with the Smith Group for a period of time. And I've known Stacy for a long, long time, and he's done a great job. And one of the things that Stacy, what impressed me so much about Stacy, when he got the job at South Carolina State, he called me and he said, "Jerry, we got to do a campaign here." And so I want Stacy to talk about that campaign today. And Stacy, what I'd like to do is just ask you a few questions. And the first question would be, what were the facilities like when you got there at South Carolina State? What steps did you take to try to improve those facilities?
Right. Well, first of all, good morning, Jerry. It's really always good to spend some time with you and the JF Smith Group. Good to see you again, and thanks for having me on this morning. When I came in, one of the first things I realized pretty quickly was that our facilities were inadequate. But walking through the door, Jerry, I knew that the university had recently gone through some very financially stressful times. And I knew just before I took the job that all units on campus were affected by those stressful times, including athletics. But when I got here and I saw that some of our facilities did not meet the health and safety standards, and we weren't able to compete on our track. For example, no home meets. I knew that our football turf field needed to be replaced. They typically last about 10 years. We were going into year 14. And then the athletic department itself had just been relocated to an old classroom building that was offline. And they brought it online and just kind of threw the athletic department in there. So from a competitive standpoint, we were not even close to our peers from facilities, from the position of facilities. And so I knew that we had to come in and do something about that, if nothing else, just for the student athlete welfare. So it was pretty crummy. Just put it frank to you, we needed some help.
So talk about the process we went through. Start with the assessment and work through the feasibility study and the campaign. And I'm not going to talk about. I'm going to let you tell them what your goal is and how much money have you raised to date. So talk a little bit about that.
Right. Well, hey, after that first phone call, I said, Jerry, listen, we need to do a campaign, and I need some help. And so one of the first things that we were able to do through our partnership was identify all of our needs. And we were looking at how can we change our competitive position, but to be a viable, sustainable D1 athletic program. And we looked at everything, and we came up with about $11 million worth of enhancements or improvements that we needed. And so we went through and tested those facility enhancements through the feasibility study. We went out and met with our constituents, and we said, hey, here's what we would like to have. Here's our wish list. And we'll identify some of these items that you would be willing to support and fund through a major gift initiative. And so that was the first assessment. We had $11.5 million of improvements that were needed. Didn't know if we could raise $11.5 million. Didn't know if we could raise $1 million. We just didn't know until we started the feasibility study. And again, through that partnership, Jerry, you guys came in and helped us, identify some of our groups that I think you met with 48 in-person interviews. We conducted over 400 online surveys, and we really found out a lot about our program, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We looked at our strengths and our weaknesses as an athletics department. You even asked questions about my leadership skills. I was scared to see what those answers was going to come back, but what do they think about me as a leader and as the administration? And then we tested those $11.5 million in enhancements and projects. And at the end of it, Jerry, you came back and with some very conservative calculations gave us a working goal. Before we got the working goal, you told me, hey, you're ready for a major gift initiative. And that was great news, because I didn't know. I knew I needed some money, but I didn't know if I was ready to do a campaign, because we had never launched a campaign in the history of the university, not to mention athletic specific. And so uncharted waters, But you came in and you assessed, you touched all the bases. You gave me some really good data. We were able to make some data-driven decisions. You gave me a very conservative working goal of $1.78 million. And you may remember, I was like, wow, Jerry, can you boost that number up a little bit? I need about 3 million. And he said, listen, Stacy, I've been doing this for a while. This is a good number. And it turned out to be a good number. And we launched in June of 2018. We got out there on the trail. Your team came in and trained us, prepared us to go out and start making solicitations. And to date, we raised over $2.3 million. And so we exceeded that working goal, but it was the right number. And you always talked about that. Here's your working goal, but we can always come up with a vision goal. And so we aimed high. And through the partnership with the J.F. Smith Group, the guidance, your direction, your recommendations, and then just the first-class services that you get provided to us, we went out there and I think we shocked, I won't say we shocked the world, but we shocked a lot of people. But we've been very successful and very proud of that. And it changed. We call our campaign the RISE campaign: Renovate, Innovate, Scholarship, and Excellence. And we identified 4 projects because, as you said, we need $11.5 million, right? You told me I can only raise 1.78, so I had to go back and prioritize, which was easy because we started with student welfare projects. One was replacing our track. That was about a $350,000 project. The next one was replacing our turf field for football and women's soccer. And then we created a scholarship fund, and then just a catch-all, a fund for excellence, right? Giving us the ability to create that margin of excellence that the university cannot provide through their supplement. And so those were our 4 projects. We just had our pre-bid for the track, for the turf field yesterday. So we will be playing on new turf this fall. Hopefully the track will be coming right afterwards. And so we'll have some sticks coming out of the ground, which is very exciting for us. I think it sends a very strong message that we're a lot healthier than we were 5 years ago. And so very proud of that. And another thing, Jerry, that this RISE campaign did, we won in the first conference championship in football since 2014, this past year. And I truly believe that the fact that we were able to take $300,000 of that $2.4 million that we've raised and provide summer school scholarships for our football student athletes for the first time in 5 years. And you know that football, we need to be here training in the summer and preparing all summer. We were able to put 150 student athletes over 2 years and train them all summer. That made a difference. We were bigger, stronger, faster on the field, and we came back as champions again. And that was a shout of the arm that the RISE campaign gave us. So now we're champions again. We just won the highest GSR award in the MEAC, graduation successful rate. That was a $20,000 payday. And so we built a lot of momentum through this RISE campaign as an athletic department. We feel like we're right here on the build-up, and we're ready to do a major breakthrough now.
So, Stacy, what was your reaction to your committee, your athletic committee, when you first introduced the concept of doing a major gift initiative or trying to go out and raise private support?
They were excited. Most of those, I had an advisory council that a lot of them were former athletes, but they were individuals who were very close to the university, had some affluence and influence. It had never been done before, and they were excited. They thought it was really outside the box, and they committed early, and they gave me the courage to actually get out there, and they've been with me every step of the way. As a matter of fact, we talked again last night, and they talked about the RISE campaign. They're so proud of us, success we've had, because it said a lot about Bulldog Nation, as they call it, and that they would step up and support the program. And so they were very excited. They were kind of waiting on something like this. And then once we came in with the level of professionalism, it was just, something that they were easily prepared to attach their name to.
I remember coming in and doing the presentation from the results of the study, and there must have been 60 people in the room. But I'll tell you, I've never been into a meeting where I saw as much excitement as I did in that meeting. I mean, those people were excited about the possibility of going out and raising private support. You know, you said a really important thing. I think doing it professionally, doing it the right way, failure is not an option. And so that's what you have to do when you're going into campaigns. But tell me about the volunteers that you used, maybe some members of that committee. How did you use your volunteers? And we know that, volunteers are not good fundraisers, but they can have a role.
Sure, absolutely. Well, what we did, Jerry, we identified 4 individuals who were major givers to the university, who not only the university, but to athletics. And we asked them to serve as co-chairs, campaign co-chairs. And these individuals had significant influence and affluence, and they were able to come in and encourage a lot of other of our alumni that they had relationships with, or some they didn't have relationships with, to support this campaign. And so they had a major impact on what we were trying to do. We actually used them to go on solicitation visits with us. As you know, we went all the way up to California. That's for a big old $500,000 ask up there. And we took one of our campaign chairs with us,
right,
to Hank Allen. But those 4 individuals had given provided significant support to us, but they were able to help us encourage others to support us as well. And they made a lot of phone calls for us. They wrote letters for us, and they were just on hand to do whatever we needed them to do to make sure that we were successful.
Talk about some of the reactions you had when you went out and made solicitation calls and you visited with people.
The thing that was amazing, Jerry, was that there's 2 things I heard a lot. This is the first time anyone from South Carolina State has ever come to see me and asked me for anything. And every time that I have been asked for some small little gifts and appeals, they said, we always gave. And I knew that. So those are the people that I was going to see, the people who had a strong giving history. But when we came in and asked for a major gift, they all jumped on board, and it was interesting. Most of them would say, I knew you were going to ask me for money. And I was a little nervous. I said, but you know what, Stacy, this was a good number. And that made me feel proud because I knew that my homework, the playbook that we had going in, we got it right. And so 9 out of 10 times they would tell me, this is this is a good number. So they were excited that we were doing it. They were impressed and quite frankly, really surprised that someone was coming to see them in their home that thought enough of them to ask them for some money. And they were willing to give up the money at the end of the day.
Right. What do you see has been your challenges as you've moved through this feasibility study and the campaign?
Well, I think being understaffed and being able to maintain that high level of professionalism and that first class approach that you have drilled into my head from the day I met you, just being able to maintain that. We're still having some staffing difficulties, making sure that we stay engaged, that we do all of the necessary steps to be successful beyond the campaign. That's a challenge that I'm looking at ways to overcome that. Our infrastructure, as you know, Jerry, when I first met you in 2020 and 2001, we were creating Tigers Unlimited at Auburn. We were bringing that internal fundraising arm. And we did something similar here at South Carolina State. We created an internal fundraising arm for athletics. I've hired a full-time development officer. I hired a campaign coordinator. And so we're just in the process of putting the infrastructure in place in the middle of a major gift initiative. And so that's been a little challenging, but you've held my hand and walked me through it, and we're plugging along and still realizing some success.
We've talked about this before, Stacy, that when you do a campaign, when you finish a campaign, that's not the end, that's just the beginning, because you've got to do stewardship. You've got to be able to thank people, consistently, when they make a pledge payment or whatever. You've got to stay in touch with them, because we know there's a basic principle that says people who make the first gift to an organization, that's probably their smallest gift. If you maintain that relationship and cultivate that relationship, the next time out, they'll give more. And so I think you really laid the groundwork here for future giving to South Carolina State. And I'm not, you might want to speak to this too, but I think you sort of laid the groundwork for the university and fundraising there. And I think you've sort of set the standard that now they need to, and I think what you've done is you've given them some hope and you've given them some, hey, this can be done, and we can raise some money for South Carolina State. So you might want to just mention that.
Yeah, we talked to my board of trustees just the other day. I went in, Jerry, and made $1 million ask from the university. I've never asked the university for $1 million, so I built my case and I made $1 million ask in the middle of a pandemic. Go figure. But the thing that I showed them, I used the RISE campaign though, and I told them, I said, we have demonstrated ability to take a marginal investment and realize a significant return on that investment with the RISE campaign. We invested about $250,000 at the end of the day, and we raised over 2.3 million. And so we've demonstrated that ability. And one thing you've always told me that if you try to wait until everything lines up, everything is perfect to go out and launch a campaign, you'll never get out the door. And so I think the university was kind of waiting, thinking that we can't raise because we don't have this infrastructure, we don't have this staff, we don't have this. And then all right, athletics, we're gonna let you go out there and test the waters. And lo and behold, we were successful. And so they're ready now to launch, to conduct their own feasibility study for the university. And that's exciting. And I think it's due to the success we had with the RISE campaign. I'm gonna tell you, the RISE, everybody's a SC State, a Bulldog, they know RISE now. They'll talk to me and call me and email about RISE. That's a household name. And so that means we did something right, Jerry.
Right. No, you did something right. It takes leadership to do campaigns, successful campaigns, and you certainly provided the leadership, Stacy. So I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of what you've done and what you've accomplished. And I think this is just the beginning of some great things that are going to continue there at South Carolina State under your leadership. So
I had a pretty good coach, and so everything I know about fundraising, I learned from you, and have an opportunity to finally partner with you. You talked about those 3 schools that I worked at previously. Every time I always call you, Jerry. I need to do a campaign. We finally were able to team up. I thought we made a hell of a team, and I was just excited I learned a lot. I can't thank you and the team enough for the experience. And I feel like I could go anywhere now and raise money. And, I had to thank you, J.F. Smith Group, for that.
Well, thank you, Stacy. I didn't necessarily want that kind of endorsement, but I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate you. And any final thoughts, or we'll.
Well, I'll just tell you, just keep your phone close by, because we're ready for phase 2. We're going to do this thing again. So.
Okay, great. Well, Stacy, thank you for taking the time to do this. And Stacy had arm surgery and is recovering a little bit. So I hope you get well soon, and take care of yourself.
Well, hey, it was great to spend some time with you this morning. I'm actually, you see this backdrop here. I'm actually in the first athletic enhancement facility that we were able to support through the RISE campaign. I'm in the fueling station that we brought online for our student athletes, help them with the nutritional needs that they need. And so this is about a $50,000 project. Very proud of it. And our kids will get a chance to enjoy it when they return to campus on July 10th. So exciting times, man. Thank you for everything, Jerry. You guys enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Stacy. We appreciate you. You have a great day. Thank you here. All right. Bye-bye. Bye.